The evening sun cast long shadows across the Mensa living room as Tunde paced back and forth like a lawyer preparing for the case of his life. His wife Oma sat on the sofa, scrolling through her phone, barely paying attention to his theatrical movements. "Oma, I've made a decision," Tunde announced, stopping dramatically in the center of the room. She looked up, one eyebrow raised. "Did you finally decide to fix that leaking tap in the bathroom?" "No, something more important. From today, we are going to split everything 50-50 in this house." Oma blinked. Then she burst into laughter, the kind that made her whole body shake. "Tunde, what nonsense are you talking?" "I'm serious," he insisted, pulling out his phone and showing her a YouTube video. "I watched this TED Talk about modern marriages and gender equality. The speaker said the problem with African marriages is that men think providing money is enough. We need to be fair. Equal partnership. 50-50. Oma's laughter died slowly as she realized he wasn't joking. She set her phone down and studied her husband's face. "You're really serious?" "Dead serious. All bills, all expenses, everything split down the middle. That's true equality." She leaned back against the sofa cushions, a small smile playing at her lips. "Tunde, my dear husband, be very careful what you wish for. I'm not wishing, I'm declaring. In fact, let's start tonight. I'm taking you to the Gold Orchid for dinner. 50-50 style." "The Gold Orchid." Oma's eyes widened slightly. "That expensive place in OSU?" "Yes. Order whatever you want. Just remember, we split the bill equally." He grabbed his car keys with confidence. "Get ready. We leave in 30 minutes. As he walked toward the bedroom, Oma called after him sweetly, "Tunde." "Yes, dear. I hope you checked your bank balance today." He waved dismissively. "Money is not a problem when you're promoting equality." Oma picked up her phone and quickly typed a message to her friend Ajoa. "Girl, my husband has lost his mind. This is going to be interesting." An hour later, they sat in the plush leather seats of the Gold Orchid, Accra's most luxurious restaurant. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and soft jazz music played in the background. Tunde felt proud, like a man who had finally figured out the secret to a perfect marriage. "So, my love," he said, opening the menu with a flourish. "Order anything your heart desires. Tonight, we dine as equals." Oma smiled sweetly and opened her menu. She took her time, her finger gliding down the pages as Tunde watched confidently. He had budgeted about 800 cedis for the evening. Even split, 400 was manageable. When the waiter arrived, a polished young man in a crisp white shirt, Oma's order began. "I'll have the grilled lobster with garlic butter." Tunde nodded. "Reasonable. And the tiger prawns in coconut sauce." He shifted slightly in his seat. "Also, bring me the seafood platter for two. I'm very hungry tonight." His eyes widened. "For drinks, I'll take a bottle of your Moët champagne. The 2015 vintage, not the 2018. "Oma," he started. She held up one finger. "You said I should order whatever I want, didn't you? Or is equality only when it's convenient?" The waiter looked between them, clearly trying not to smile. "And for dessert," Oma continued, "I'll have the chocolate soufflé, the cheesecake sampler, and that special crème brûlée you're famous for. Actually, bring two of each. I might want to take some home." Tunde's voice came out as a squeak. "Two of each?" "Yes. And what are you ordering, darling?" He looked down at his menu, his confidence evaporating. "I'll just have the jollof rice and chicken." The waiter nodded and disappeared. Tunde loosened his collar, suddenly feeling very warm despite the air conditioning. "Oma, don't you think you ordered a bit much?" She sipped her water elegantly. "My dear husband, you're the one who wanted 50-50. I'm just exercising my equal rights." Or are you saying I should order like a second-class citizen while you order what you want? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Equality only counts when the woman is paying her share, but not when she's ordering her share. Tunde opened his mouth, then closed it. He had no response. The food arrived in waves, each dish more elaborate than the last. The lobster glistened under butter and herbs. The prawns were the size of small bananas. The champagne cork popped with a sound that seemed to echo his dying bank account. Amma ate like a queen, savoring every bite, complimenting every dish. Tunde picked at his jollof rice, watching the parade of food with growing horror. Finally, the waiter arrived with the bill in a leather folder. He placed it delicately between them. Tunde opened it. His soul left his body. 4,200 cedis. Oh, Oma, he whispered, his voice strangled. This bill, it's 4,200 cedis. Yes, I saw. She pulled out her purse calmly. Which means my half is 2,100 cedis. Equal partnership, remember. She handed her credit card to the waiter. Please charge exactly 2,100 to this card. Then she turned to Tunde with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. And my husband will pay his half. He handles all our finances, so he should have enough, right there. The waiter waited. The other diners at nearby tables had gone quiet, sensing drama. Tunde pulled out his credit card with shaking hands. As the waiter walked away with both cards, someone at the next table whispered loudly, "That's the 50-50 couple. I heard about them." Another person chuckled. The man doesn't know what he started. Amma gathered her things, including 3 large takeaway bags of desserts. Thank you for this wonderful eco dinner, my love. We should do this every week. After all, I have my own money too. Tunde stood on weak legs, his pride as crushed as his bank account. The next morning, Tunde sat at the breakfast table, still traumatized from the previous night's financial massacre. But his pride wouldn't let him admit defeat. Instead, he made another announcement. I'm calling a family meeting. Today. Everyone must come. Amma looked up from where she was helping Kwoko with his homework. Everyone. Tunde, that's 25 people. Yes. I want them to understand my vision for a modern, equal marriage. Oh, this should be interesting. She pulled out her phone. Let me call my father and Auntie Efua. By afternoon, the Mensa living room had transformed into chaos. Uncles lounged on every available chair. Aunties fanned themselves in the heat. Children ran between legs while teenagers filmed everything on their phones. Mama Tunde arrived like a general entering battle, her wrapper tied high and tight. My son, what is this emergency? You said it was urgent. Uncle Kofi, Oma's father, entered more slowly, leaning on his walking stick. His face was calm, but his eyes sparkled with amusement. Tunde, my son-in-law. I hear you have something important to discuss. Auntie Efua burst through the door last, her voice preceding her. Where is this man who wants to collect money from my niece? Show yourself. Tunde stood at the front of the room, suddenly less confident than he'd been in his imagination. 25 pairs of eyes watched him expectantly. Thank you all for coming. I've called you here to discuss the new structure of my marriage. From now on, Oma and I will split all expenses 50-50. It's about equality and fairness. Silence fell over the room like a heavy blanket. Then Mama Tunde shot to her feet. Oh. Split what? My son, did someone bewitch you? Mama, please. This is about being progressive. Auntie Efua's voice cut through like a machete. Progressive. You want my niece, who carried your children for 9 months each, who cooks your food, washes your clothes, manages your home, to now pay half of everything. Are you mad? It's called gender equality, Tunde protested. Uncle Kofi tapped his walking stick on the floor 3 times. The room went silent. Everyone knew that when Uncle Kofi tapped 3 times, wisdom was about to be dispensed. Tunde, my son, he began softly. Let me ask you some questions. Yes, uncle. When Oma wakes up at 5 in the morning to prepare breakfast before you go to work, do you pay her? Tunde shifted uncomfortably. Well, no, but when she bathes the children, helps them with homework, takes them to school, do you give her a salary? That's different. When she manages the house, buys groceries with her own wisdom so your money stretches further, do you compensate her for that labor? The room began to murmur in agreement. Uncle Kofi continued, his voice still gentle but firm. When she stays awake all night when the children are sick, do you split that 50-50 too? Or do you sleep peacefully while she handles it? Tunde's mouth opened and closed like a fish. My son, you want to share expenses like business partners. But did you marry a business partner or a wife? When you were sick last year and couldn't work for 3 months, did Oma demand you still pay half the bills? Or did she carry everything without complaint? The relatives began to nod and mutter. Tell him, Uncle Kofi. Speak truth. Oma stood up then, her voice calm but powerful. Let me say something. Everyone turned to her. My dear husband wants equality. That's beautiful. But let me tell you what equality means to me. Equality is when my emotional investment in this family is valued as much as his financial contribution. Equality is when the labor I put into raising these children, managing this home, and supporting his career is recognized as equal to the money he brings. She paused, looking directly at Tunde. You want to split bills? Fine. But can you split the sleepless nights? Can you split the worry when our children are sick? Can you split the burden of remembering everyone's birthdays, buying gifts, maintaining family relationships? Can we split that 50-50? The room erupted in applause and shouts of agreement. Preach, sister. Tell him the truth. Mama Tunde wiped tears from her eyes. My daughter-in-law, you have spoken well. Tunde stood there, humiliated, as his grand vision of modern marriage crumbled around him. But pride is a stubborn beast, and it wouldn't release its grip on him yet. I hear you all, he said stiffly. But my decision stands. Starting tomorrow, everything in this house will be truly equal. Uncle Kofi shook his head sadly. Some people must learn by falling, not by listening. That night, as everyone left, Oma simply smiled and said, if that's what you want, my husband, then that's what you get. Pure equality. 50-50 in everything. The way she said it made Tunde's stomach twist with unease. But his pride pushed him forward. The next morning began the reign of terror known in the neighborhood as the 50-50 revolution. Tunde came to breakfast expecting his usual plate of eggs, plantain, and bread. Instead, he found 1 egg, half-cooked. 3 slices of plantain, raw on one side. And 2 pieces of bread, 1 toasted, 1 frozen. Oma, what is this? She appeared from the kitchen, perfectly dressed for work. Your 50% of breakfast. I cooked my half properly. You can cook your half however you like. But I don't know how to cook. Then you should learn. Equality, remember. She grabbed her purse. The children's lunch boxes are also 50% packed. I packed Abina's completely because she's my daughter. Kwaku's is empty because he's your son. 50-50. She left while Tunde stood there, holding a raw plantain. At his office later that morning, his colleague found him eating crackers. Tunde, why are you eating crackers for lunch? Don't ask, he muttered. That evening, he came home to find the house half cleaned. The living room was spotless, but only the left side. The right side looked like a hurricane had passed through. Half the dishes were washed. Half the laundry was done, his work shirts were in the pile that didn't make it. Oma, my shirts aren't washed. She called from the bedroom. Check the laundry room. Your half is there, unwashed. Equal division of labor, my dear. Kwaku and Abina watched their parents with wide eyes, trying not to giggle. That night was the worst. Oma made the bed, but only her side. His side had no sheets, just the bare mattress. Oma, where are my sheets? I made my side of the bed. You make yours. Or did you expect me to do everything? When he tried to share her blanket that night, she held it tight. No. This is my blanket. Get your own. 50-50 means separate blankets. They spent the entire night in a silent tug-of-war, each pulling the blanket to their side. Ton got maybe 2 hours of sleep, wrapped in a small corner of fabric while Oma slept peacefully in her cocoon. The next day, he went to work wearing a shirt that was clean on the front but dirty on the back. His neighbor Mrs. Ajay stopped him at the gate. Tunde, are you alright? Your shirt. I'm fine, he said through gritted teeth. We heard about your 50-50 arrangement, she said, her voice dripping with false concern. My husband tried something similar in 1987. He lasted 3 days before he came to his senses. All day, people stared at his half-clean shirt. Someone in the elevator whispered, "That's the 50-50 man." For 3 days, this continued. Tunde ate half-cooked meals, wore half-clean clothes, and slept under a quarter of a blanket. His pride kept him from surrendering, but his body was exhausted. On the 4th morning, his phone rang while he struggled to make toast. It was the children's school. Mr. Mensah, we need you to come to the school immediately. His heart dropped. Is everything okay? Are the children hurt? No, but there's a problem with their school fees. Please come now. He rushed to the school, his heart pounding. When he arrived, he found Kwaku and Abina sitting outside the headmaster's office, their faces mortified. Other children walked past, pointing and whispering. The headmaster, a stern woman in her 50s, gestured for him to sit. Mr. Mensah, your wife came this morning and paid exactly half of this term's fees. When I asked about the other half, she said to contact you. She said something about equal partnership. Tunde felt his world tilt. She left the children here and said they should stay until the full amount is paid. Mr. Mensah, we cannot have children staying here with half-paid fees. It's either fully paid or they go home. Through the window, he could see other parents looking at them, some covering their mouths to hide smiles. Their whispers reached him. That's the 50-50 family. I heard he made his wife start paying for everything. Now see what equality has brought. Tunde looked at his children. Kwaku tried to be brave, but his lower lip trembled. Abina's eyes were red from crying. Something inside him broke. He paid the remaining fees with shaking hands and drove the children home in silence. When they arrived, Oma was calmly reading a book in the living room. You paid half the school fees, he asked quietly. Yes. My 50%. You wanted equality in everything. She turned a page without looking up. I also bought half of Kwaku's school uniform. He's wearing the shirt but no pants. That's your half to buy. Oma. I scheduled the children's doctor's appointment and paid for half. You need to pay the rest when you arrive. Oh, and I paid half the electricity bill. They said they'll cut it off in 2 days if the rest isn't paid. Tunde sank onto the sofa, his head in his hands. All his grand ideas about modern marriage, about equality and fairness, seemed ridiculous now. The TED Talk hadn't mentioned any of this. You wanted equality in everything, Oma said softly, finally looking at him. I just followed your rules. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unsaid words. Finally, Tunde spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I was wrong. I was wrong, Oma. I thought equality meant splitting everything down the middle. But I see now, that's not equality. That's just mathematics. She closed her book and looked at him properly. He continued, you do so much that I never valued because it didn't come with a price tag. The cooking, the cleaning, the worry, the care. When I calculated 50-50, I only counted the bills. I didn't count everything else. Tears filled his eyes. Today, when I saw our children sitting there, embarrassed because of my foolishness, I realized that marriage isn't a business transaction. It's not about keeping score. Maybe true equality isn't splitting everything in half. Maybe it's understanding what each person gives and valuing all of it. Amma was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to the kitchen. She returned with a bowl of jollof rice, perfectly cooked, steaming hot, with chicken and plantain arranged on top. His favorite meal. Here, she said, handing it to him. He looked up at her, confused. She smiled, a real smile this time. Equal partnership doesn't mean we're the same. It means we appreciate each other's contributions. You work hard to provide for us. I work hard to make our house a home. Both are valuable. Both are necessary. Tom took the bowl, and for the first time in days, he felt warmth spread through his chest that had nothing to do with the food. I'm sorry, he whispered. I know. She sat beside him. That TED Talk you watched. The speaker was a single man with no children. What does he know about marriage? Despite everything, Tunde laughed. Then Oma laughed. Then the children, who had been hiding in the hallway, came running in laughing too. That night, they lay in bed under one shared blanket, properly made on both sides. Tunde's arm was around Oma, and she rested her head on his chest. You know, she said softly, if you want to help more around the house, I wouldn't object. But not because of some 50-50 rule. Because you want to be part of everything, not just the finances. I'd like that, he admitted. Maybe you can teach me to cook something other than toast. We'll start with boiling water. Baby steps. They both laughed softly in the darkness. The next day, news of Tunde's surrender spread through the neighborhood faster than lightning. Mrs. Ajay stopped by with chin-chin and unsolicited advice. Uncle Kofi sent a text that simply said, wisdom has entered. Well done. Even Auntie F were called, surprisingly gentle, my son, marriage is not mathematics. It's music. Sometimes one person plays loud, sometimes the other. But together, you make harmony. Tunde returned to work with clean, fully washed shirts. He learned to cook simple meals on weekends. He started taking the children to school some mornings. Not because of 50-50 rules, but because he finally understood what Oma had been trying to tell him all along. Marriage wasn't about splitting everything equally. It was about giving everything equally, your time, your effort, your heart. 3 months later, a friend mentioned the same TED Talk to Tunde. Oh, I saw that, the friend said excitedly. I'm thinking of implementing it in my marriage. Tunde looked at him with the wisdom of a man who had survived the 50-50 revolution. My brother, let me buy you lunch. We need to talk. And as they walked to the restaurant, Tunde caught a glimpse of his reflection in a shop window. He was smiling. Really smiling. The kind of smile that comes from a man who had learned the hard way that some lessons can't be taught in TED Talks, they have to be lived. Back home, Omar received his text, thank you for being patient with a foolish man. I love you. She smiled and replied, I love you too. But you're still cooking dinner tonight. Not because of 50-50, but because I'm tired. Deal, he wrote back, adding a heart emoji. And somewhere in Accra, in the Mensa household where 50-50 briefly ruled and chaos reigned, peace was restored. Not through mathematics, but through understanding. Not through splitting everything in half, but through sharing everything completely. If you enjoyed this story about Ton's hilarious journey from proud equality warrior to humbled husband, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us, have you ever tried something like this in your relationship? What happened? And don't forget to like this video and share it with that one friend who thinks they have marriage figured out. Trust me, they need to see this. New stories drop every week, so subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the drama, the laughter, and the lessons. Until next time, remember, marriage is a partnership, not a spreadsheet.